good evening, DirtFish Rally friends. It's the end of day 2 here at the Rally Italia Sardegna, and we've moved away from the DirtFish balcony. We've come into the centre of Olbia. It's Saturday night in Olbia. There's a lot going on. Not everyone is talking about the rally, but they should be. It's been a day of high tension, high drama. We've seen Ott Tanak smacking into a rock, breaking his suspension on his car, retiring from the day. This afternoon, Danny Sordo has also rolled his car. He is out of the rally. It has been a disastrous day for Hyundai. But David, goodness me, a rally that looked like it was going to be a Hyundai rally has turned into anything but today.
For the second round in succession. Portugal, Friday,
Portugal
1, 2, 3.
was
I'm staggered though, Colin, you just said that. What else could people be talking about inside? What else?
What else could they be? What else should they be talking about?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
The most exciting rally of the season, almost.
Real bad luck for Ott Tanak out there again. It's, it is the nature of this event. It is one of the most arduous car-breaking events that we have.
It's exactly what we've talked about, isn't it? The way that the road changes and rocks get pulled out, and that way, you could see it slap bang in the middle of the line. But it was quite interesting when we were talking to Sebastian Ogier after in the media zone, and he said, if you weren't quite as committed to the line, you may have had the margin to just move aside. I'm not sure because, it was pretty much on the apex, wasn't it?
His suggestion was perhaps that Tanak maybe could have been backing off at that point, but perhaps wasn't. Ott Tanak looked really comfortable out there. He was extending his lead this morning. As you say, David, very, very similar to Portugal on the Saturday in Portugal, looking super comfortable, super fast, and super in control. And then all of a sudden, suspension failure in Portugal, hitting a rock that he could not avoid. And it was a big one, wasn't it?
It was a huge rock.
In the line. So, we talked to Adamo afterwards because before this event, I was talking about a potential 1, 2, 3 for Hyundai here, and that wasn't a million miles from being possible.
No, again, look at the recent history of the event. 4 out of 5, they are the team to come here. You want to come here with an I-20, don't you? But it's absolutely turned on its head here. At the minute, we're looking at a Toyota 1-2.
And can we say, we couldn't say before this event that Tanak's championship challenge was over because, as we know, 30 points available, it could have turned like that.
No,
he's now a long way behind, David.
Yeah, but there's an awful lot of points to come. An awful lot of points to come. You absolutely can't.
Okay, I'll go with you on that, but I think...
Where's the next round, Colin?
Well, the next round is in Safari, yeah.
I mean, that's, that is the biggest... Of all of the season, that's the biggest step into the unknown, isn't it?
It really is, but, the guy who copes with new rallies extremely well is Sebastian Ogier.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but, okay, historically, the Toyota has been the weaker car on really rough rallies.
That's true. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But listen,
no, I don't. For me, you can't write it off. As
obviously Ott Tanak retired from the lead up the rally, it then put massive pressure on Danny Sordo because at lunchtime service, Ogier was in the lead, Sordo was second, Elvin Evans third, Thierry Neuville in fourth. It was a 2 and 4 for Hyundai. It wasn't great, but he had a good 3 stages. He did a really good 3 stages.
He did. And again, you kind of feel sorry for Danny a little bit because, you come back to October last year and he was being hunted down through that final day by Ogier, wasn't he? And he wasn't a rabbit in the headlights, but he's almost like, he has that sort of Labrador-esque look about him, doesn't he? You just kind of think, oh, poor Danny. Lovely fella, and just leave him alone. Just let him get on and win the rally.
Yeah.
But, again, today, you didn't, I kind of never get the feeling with Danny that he's like, ready, and absolutely ready to sort of fight fire with fire.
Well, he doesn't show us that in terms of his
but you were dead right, though. He came out at service and he put those times in, quicker than Elvin, and it looked to be going really well for him. But it was just very, very unfortunate that he ran slightly wide and just dropped into. It looked like you said, it looked like a sort of driveway going up into a house
or a field or something.
Just built it up a bit, and it just. Once he was in there was no coming back from that.
There wasn't.
The wheel under it.
We were listening to Chris Meek commentating on the WRC coverage, and he calls a spade, Chris Meek, and he said that's a driver error. He's just gone slightly too quickly into that corner. He's drifted wide. He was very, very unlucky. 9 times out of 10, you'll drift wide. You'll just maybe drop the wheel off a little bit, but you carry on. He was so unlucky. But you can't take it away from the fact that he was pushing hard. It was an error.
And it was, I suspect it's one of those that you just catch it at exactly the wrong angle with quite a lot of speed, and it loads up immediately, and it's just broken it. But, talking about Chris Meek, Chris was superbly fair with Oyt Tanak. He watched the replay of Tanak's incident and immediately said that was not his fault.
No.
You couldn't do anything about that. But ultimately, it's a disaster of a day for Hyundai.
Absolute disaster. The only Hyundai left running now is Thierry Neuville, who's had a very up and down rally. We thought this morning maybe Neuville would put some pressure on Elvin Evans. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to put any pressure on Elvin Evans.
He can't now. I mean, he absolutely can't, because, if something happened to Thierry tomorrow, that's another. It's not another, but it is, it's a no score. But can't have that.
The big unknown about tomorrow, David, is the weather forecast. I love a good weather forecast. I love it.
You talked about significant rainfall overnight last night. It didn't really come.
It
didn't.
It woke me up. It woke me up in the middle of the night. We got it this morning. David Evans wouldn't sit on our bar stools outside because they were so wet.
It was quite wet, in fairness, but it wasn't torrential rain. But what we're looking at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow is a 90% chance of significant
good
rain.
So what does that mean? It means anything might yet still happen out there, but you'd have to say the way that both Ogier and Evans have constructed their campaigns so far this year, they've known when to push, they've known when to throttle back. There is no pressure on them tomorrow.
No.
They are the ones who are absolutely in the box seat. It is a Toyota 1-2 to throw away, and I cannot see that happening.
No, you can't. I mean, you've looked at a power stage, potentially it could be really spicy there, couldn't it? Everybody will potentially save their tyres. You get to the power stage, and it will, if the weather's right, by sort of midday, 1 o'clock, it just stopped raining. It'll be hellishly slippery.
It'll be interesting. Brand new stage.
But, again, I can't really see Ogier and Elvin pushing massively hard to take the extra points. They would be very, very silly to risk what they've got, particularly, a massive points haul for Toyota potentially.
Oh, huge points haul. Really, as we said earlier, at the start of this rally, it looked very difficult for Toyota. Hyundai came away from Portugal with what appeared to be the faster car for these conditions. Road position absolutely suited the Hyundai going into Friday morning here, end of Saturday night. And I would be afraid to interview Adamo tonight, because he scared me at lunchtime. Tonight, I wouldn't know what to say to him, to be honest. I really wouldn't know what to say.
No, you're right. I mean, he can be quite an intimidating character, Andrea, but, ultimately he will be hurting tonight. He had an opportunity coming to a rally that they've got a really, really strong record on. Toyota's never won here.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going to win now. One thing that we really should talk about is the way that the teams have tested for this event. We saw Hyundai tested 6 weeks ago here on location. They feel that was wrong. They then went last week. They were in Portugal testing for Safari, and then we had Toyota last week in Spain testing for Safari, but then realizing actually they needed to do some work for Sardinia as well. So wow, the testing has been a little bit crazy for this.
It has,
and that's been reflected, I think, in the way that we've seen Elvin struggling for a setup, through the first. Really through the first day.
He's not looked comfortable all rally. Again.
I think, from yesterday afternoon, it was starting to come. This morning, it's come more for him, and he now does feel comfortable, but he's now in a position where, like I just said, he would be silly to push too hard. But, for sure, Thierry struggled. And, Tanak was the one. He absolutely was on the money with the car, felt it was perfect underneath him, and it's just gone.
Yeah, so obviously we have our top three. We've got Ogier at the front, we've got Elvin Evans, Thierry Neuville. Takamoto Katsuta in 4th place. I think he said at the end of one stage, this is not the way I want to get a 4th place.
Yeah.
It is all about learning for Katsuta-san, and this is a fantastic opportunity to learn. This rally was always going to be a rally of attrition, and it was always going to reward those who stayed out of trouble.
Yeah, and it was always going to be a massively difficult event for him. He had such little experience.
And a monster stack.
Yeah.
When we were here 8 months ago.
And the fact that he just doesn't like these. He likes to feel the car moving, sliding, and you can't do that here. You've got to keep the car straight. And he's found that difficult, but he's done a tremendous job.
Yeah. We now have to go, would you believe, we're talking about 5th place here. Fifth place is the battle for the lead in WRC2. Now, we were very fortunate. We were at the end of stage 10 when Mads Osberg, who at the time had a comfortable lead in WRC2, he came through with brake issues. And just watching Mads and Torstein working so quickly and efficiently on that car to get it into the next two stages was remarkable, David.
It was a real insight, wasn't it? And, you know, you kind of think, in your road car, if you've got a puncture or something, you know, even if you've got no luggage, it takes you a while to get stuff ready, even though you know exactly where the toolkit is and blah, blah, blah. Those boys literally, I think, you know, Osberg was out the car and he had chucked the jack. Everything was
within
there.
seconds.
Yeah, literally within sort of 15 seconds. The tools were on the floor, he was under the car, the wheel was off and away. And it was great. But, you know, I love those moments of drama. And, you know, every time you see one of those moments, you think, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And it was great. And they, you know, they found out exactly what the problem was. They fixed it really quickly, and they still had 6 minutes when they were going into the regroup. So no, it's great, and we've seen massive speed from him this afternoon.
Well, there was further drama in that loop of stages for Osberg because on his way back to service after stage 12, something broke on it. It was a bolt broke, and they took a long time to work out how to fix it. It broke again, then they fixed it. They carried on. It broke. They were 6 minutes late into service, 60-second penalty, dropped him 35 seconds behind Huttinen, but my goodness me, he has gone out with a fire in his belly this afternoon. 35 seconds behind Huttinen going into this afternoon stages. I think he's less than that, 2 behind at the end of the day. Osberg has been absolutely magnificent in every aspect today, David.
That's only going to serve to further worsen Adamo's mood tonight, isn't it? You know, that he thought, okay, maybe we're not going to win here, but we could take a WRC2 win, and that's, you know, you've got to say, your money would be on Osberg now.
100%. David, WRC3, who's leading there at the end of Saturday?
Johan Rossell.
Great job by Johan Rossell.
But still, quite, I mean, not a huge margin. I think 37 seconds, something like that.
Which we know here is very little. Let us, though, give you the top 10. We should maybe have given you this at the start, but we're going to give it to you now. The top 10 at the end of today's stages, with 4 more to go here at Rally Italia Sardegna. So here we go. Sebastian Ogier, as we have already said, leads the way from his teammate Elvin Evans. Thierry Neuville is back in third. He is 1 minute and 1 second behind Sebastian Ogier. Fourth, it is Takamoto Katsuta. Fifth is the first of our Rally 2 cars, Jari Huttinen. But the battle we will watch tomorrow is between Huttinen and Osberg in sixth. That gap, 2.7 seconds. In seventh, it is Johan Rossell. In eighth, Pepe Lopez. Ninth is Jan Solans. And in 10th, it is Marco Bellazia.
Well, you know what I'm really disappointed about, Colin?
What, David? Are you disappointed about something?
I'm very disappointed.
Tell me.
That while you were reading that top 10 beautifully, the man came along and was going to sell a rose to you to give to me. You didn't buy it.
I'd have bought a whole bunch of roses for you, David.
I've got you a fascinating fact here, though. Tell me how far, I'm in the middle of writing my diary piece, how far, since we were here last in 2013, how far through space has planet Earth travelled? You'll never get it.
Oh.
129 billion miles.
Well, that is a
fact.
fact.
4 commas in.
David.
I think it is billions.
David, he needs his dinner. It's been a long day here.
Very long day.
David,
especially a long day with Colin.
Thank you for your insights as always. That wonderful fact. Folks, what a day. What a day of drama. What a day of emotions we have had here in Sardinia. We still have 4 more stages to go on the Sunday. We do have this forecast for heavy rain overnight, rain into the stages tomorrow. As we have seen today, you cannot count anything in, anything out in this rally. Join us on Sunday for the final day of Rally Italia Sardegna. The place to be is DirtFish.com.
That's all I'm good for, isn't it? Yeah. The .com bit.